Happy Tuesday again. Welcome to another conversation. Come on in, say hi to your colleagues, checking in. Everyone is excited about another Tuesday. I'm excited about today's conversation. I'm always excited about our conversation, but I'm excited today as we embark on our six-figure Agent CEO business planning series. And the idea obviously behind the conversation is to get us on a path. Some of us have been in business for a very long time. Some are new to the business. Some are in the middle of their business. And it's always a good time to do a checkup, right? It's always a good time to check in on our business and make sure that we are running our business in the most effective and in the most profitable and efficient manner properly. And so as we've been talking about productivity and the remaining of our calls here going forward are going to push into productivity. Once that revenue starts coming in, where are we putting it? How are we tracking it? How are we making sure that we're doing everything legally and compliant as it relates to our business, right? And we're not running like we use this word hustle, right? Not like an individual, but as exactly like a business. So today's conversation starts us off with the conversation about your business entity formation and tax planning, right? So for those who don't know, who may be new joining us today, the mission of our Title Tuesdays is to provide a weekly coaching call for our realtor colleagues to discuss latest trends and need to know information to grow your business. My favorite quote, simply because learning has given me leverage, learning has allowed me to grow, learning has provided me with a ton of opportunities. I figured out that when there's something that has created a block for me, it's just simply the something I need to learn about. So I'm constantly learning, right? And so the quote that we discuss each week is when you encounter an issue that impedes your forward progress, you have not reached a dead end. You have simply reached the extent of your knowledge. So I encourage you guys, and this is why we come together each week, that when you're feeling stuck in any area of your life or business, know that there's a solution and there's a resolution to everything. You simply have not learned it yet. You've reached the extent of your knowledge. And so it's time to seek out that information. And that's why we come together. Ultimately, learn more to earn more. I told you guys this before. We don't learn just for the purpose of having a conversation. We come in here, we learn for the purposes of growing your business, right? For the purposes of increasing your revenue, which will ultimately increase your financial freedom. That's what we want. We want you to exit rich, right? Now, for those who've never had an opportunity to meet us here at Title Xperts or work with us, we welcome you. We welcome to you the opportunity to work with us. Some quick features and benefits of working with Title Xperts. Attorney managed firm. My name is Ray Cole Jackson. I am the founder and one of the managing attorneys with Title Xperts. And so, yes, I do manage. I do manage the closings along with our closing team. If you follow me on social media, you do see that we do daily huddles each day. And so you will see us having a conversation about each and every file that's coming up for closing. And so oftentimes I'm not the one that you see communicating with you on these emails, but if you give me a call about your file, I miraculously know what's going on because we huddle every day. With your number 2 dedicated closing team, we endeavor that when you call in for a closing that you know exactly who you're talking to. You're not talking to a different person every day. So there's a team that you speak with. Finally, weekly status updates. Honestly, if we wanted to, we could give you a daily status update because we huddle and we discuss these files every day. But they do go out at least weekly with a status update on where we are with the file. Helpful closing, guys. Again, we understand that everyone doesn't understand what title and closing is. They don't understand the process. And so we endeavor to make that process smoother and more efficient and less fretful by providing helpful closing guides, not just to our realtors, but also to the consumers, your customers, the buyers, and the sellers. And then finally, rush processing is available. You got a cash deal, you got a finance deal that they say they can get it done quickly. We're here. We can meet that timetable. We're 7 days. We did a file that closed in about 7 days last week. And so just as quickly as you can get title clear, if there's any title issues that come up or you can get financing clear, we're ready to close. And here is just a couple of representation of some of my frontline closing teams. These people make me look good. If you're looking forward to working with us, you see the contact information there on the screen. We send new contracts to contracts@TitleExperts.com. If you have any general questions, you can send an email to closings@TitleExperts.com. And if you have any questions, we are here to chat with you. We are proud of our cute little 800 number, 866-5-Experts. Give us a call. We look forward to working with you. Now, myself, again, if I've not had an opportunity to meet with you personally, my name is Ray Cole Jackson. I am the founder of Title Experts. A little bit about myself. I am a graduate of the University of Florida. Go Gators. If you're on the call, say it with me. You guys know, say it in the chat. No, no, I'm not gonna say that. No Go No's. But Go Gators, get your own call for Go No's. No, I'm just kidding. My undergraduate degree is from Santa Clara University School of Law, and I obtained my LLM degree from the University of Miami School of Law with a specific focus in real property development. And I am also a licensed Florida Realtor. Now, the purpose of providing that background information is I want to give you guys a frame of reference to know that I'm not simply an attorney that's having this discussion with you from a attorney or theoretical perspective. I am having this conversation with you from a practical perspective, as I myself started out in real estate practice. I was actually a licensed realtor before I was a licensed attorney, simply put. So the point of that is to say there's no question that you can't ask. There's no experience that I have not had a similar experience, right? We might not have had the same customer, and there's no frustration that you haven't had. And so when we come together and have these conversations, I want it to be a productive conversation from your perspective, from your point of view, but I'm able to provide my perspective as an attorney as well. And so just wanted to add that. Hey, Lisa. Lisa's chatting with me in the DM, guys. So to get started, let's start here with business entity, incorporation, and tax planning. That's what we're talking about today. And today is going to be a little bit different because in addition to the slides, I'm literally going to go to the site, you guys, and show you the sites that we use to set these businesses up. This is a service that we provide and we charge a fee for. So, but you don't have to pay us for this, guys. And so I'm kind of like giving away money in this regard, but why not? Here's my hope. My hope is that you, in addition to setting up your real estate license, your real estate business, maybe you'll set up other businesses. So I may as well show you where this is set up. And it's really not difficult at all. Like, it is not difficult at all. Once you do it once, you're fine. You'll know how to do it again, and you'll do it in your sleep. So let's start off talking about setting up the business entity. Why do we want to set up a business entity to start with? First of all, legal protection. Let's have a conversation about legality, right? If you are out there operating, guys, as an individual, and there's a legal issue and a lawsuit is filed against you, they're going to file it against you individually. And the extent of their recovery is going to be everything that you individually own. That means your individual bank accounts. That means your individual properties. That means everything that is in your individual name. This is huge. This is why people set up entities. However, if you're out there operating as a business entity, the plaintiff, as we call it, the person that's filing suit, the alleged person that's damaged, they can only reach the assets of the business. If the business has $5, that's what the business has. That's what we're having a conversation about, right? If the business has $20, like, sorry, I know you have a $20 million judgment, but I got $20 for you. However, if you're a multi-million-dollar producing agent, guess what? They want all of your millions. Does that make sense? No one wants to be sued individually. We need to limit the liability to your business entity, and that is all. So That's a very good, that's a point for me as an attorney, because I figure out how to find all the assets, right? And if it's an individual, like, it's just a Pandora's box. We get to touch everything. So that's the first thing, legal protection, guys. And then secondly, obviously, is financial planning. When you're set up and you're operating as a business, you obviously have financial incentives. You have opportunities that are available to you for tax planning, for tax credit that'll increase your revenue and increase your savings. We talk about how, good, bad, or indifferent, guys, these are how the quote unquote rich get richer. There are tax rules that allow them to protect their revenue. There are tax rules that allow them to write off revenue. Year over year, you can carry losses. Now, I will let you know, I am not a tax professional. I am not a tax attorney. I am not a CPA. I am none of those things. I am simply a multiple business owner, filed multiple business taxes each year. My CPA meets with me every month to go over the books of my companies. And so these are things that I'm familiar with. You will not get any advice from me. To be perfectly honest with you, I hate it as well. I gag. I hate having this conversation with him, but it's the cost of doing business, as they say. So financial planning is another benefit and a reason why we set up a business entity. So let's talk about setting up the business entity. Now, first of all, the entity is created on SumBiz. Can you combine business under one company? Zoom user. So I don't know your name. Hold on to that question. And then let's ask it at the end, just so I'm clear on what your question is. I think I know what you're asking, but let's hold it to the end. And I'll answer your question gladly, because I've actually gotten that question about 2 weeks ago, but I just needed to be clear on what specifically you're asking. I don't want to assume. So first is you're going to create the entity on SumBiz. Second setup note is your entity can be a PA, which is a professional organization, an LLC, limited liability company, or a PLLC, professional limited liability company. As a realtor, those are your options for the type of entity you can select. Does that make sense? There's going to be a ton of them. There's outside of that, you have incorporated INC. You cannot be that. There's rules that limit your ability to only be a PA, LLC, or PLLC. I should have referenced the FREC rule on that one. And then once we name it, it must be your name. It must be the sale associate or the broker associate's name. It cannot be a vanity name. So what is a vanity name? A vanity name is Sunshine Real Estate LLC. Cannot be. The only time that can be is if you're the broker. Only a broker can use a vanity name. As an individual, you have to use your name, comma PA, comma LLC, or comma PLLC. And I know that, where is she? Lisette, sorry when she came in. Lisette is set up, has a PA already. Broker associate cannot use a vanity name. Broker associate cannot use a vanity name. And Lisa, if you want, you can, this is for everybody, go to, that's right. Lisa, go to your in your chat, go here and select everyone in meeting so everyone can see your question. Obviously, your questions are coming to me, which is fine. I can read them. I'm going to answer them, but I want everyone to see your questions so we're all on the same page. Unless you want to send me a direct message, that's fine as well. All right, Jessica, we're going to go over that. Good question. So again, must be sales associates or broker associate's name, cannot be a vanity name, right? Let's go to SumBiz. And let's see if I'm going to, let me move this over. So you're going to go here, start a business. This is where you select for LLC. Jess, this is where you select for a PA because it's a profit. It's a for-profit corporation. I'll let somebody in. It's for profit. Non-for-profits are here. Limited partnerships, LP is here. Fictitious name registration, that's not what you guys are looking for. So your two options are here, LLC and profit corporation. The most common is a PA, so I'm going to go ahead and select profit corporation. So they're telling you review the instructions, you should review them, have a valid form of payment. Now let's file. Which is the best? PA, if you're individual, PA, LLC, you have the same protections. Me personally, and this has nothing to do with anything from a legal standpoint, I just always feel like an individual, maybe because it's how I always see it, an individual name just looks better with a PA versus LLC. I don't know. That's just my thing. I like PA. So if you have an effective date, what's your effective date? You're going to put it there. You do not need any of these certificates of status or copy. You don't need any of that. And you're just going to put in your name here. So I'm going to go Rick Cole Jackson. And I don't know if they allow these, what do you call it? Comma, those types of things, but corporate stock shares, you can just do, no, you cannot backdate that far. It's going to tell you that your effective date cannot be, gosh, I want to say like 7 days or something, but we can put it in just so you can see. They won't let you backdate it that far. But we'll put it in, Susan, just so you can see what they tell us. How many stock shares? Let's just say 100. Principal place of business. I'm going to put the office information. Mailing address. I'm going to make the mailing address the same as the office address. Register agent. That could be you, can be your attorney. When we file and we set these up on behalf of the realtors, obviously their registered agent is our office, our law firm. What is the registered agent? The registered agent is, in the event that a legal action is filed against you, that's the person that's going to be served. And that's where they're going to be served. So I'll just go ahead and put this in here for now. Show you guys what it would look like. So we are Suite 120 for the law firm. Now listen, don't put us on here if you haven't hired us for this. And then there. Name of incorporator is going to be myself. 560 Village Boulevard, Suite. Oops. My thing is pulling up all my saved information. From previous filings in here. It's going all the way down. Okay, so put that in, and then electronic signature, you just type your name. At least on the questions section, let's go over that. Now here is a good one. So this, it says, what's the purpose of your corporation? For a professional association, it's saying that you cannot, they used to allow you to just say any and all lawful business. They used to allow you to just say that. And then they took this, then they said that you couldn't do that. You had to give a specific, and you didn't have to give very specific. You still just had to say, what we're going to say here is real estate services. That's what we're going to say. We're going to say real estate services. Because for PA, it's saying right here, you cannot select any and all lawful business. Now, if we were using the LLC selection, we could just select this and it would say any and all lawful business, right? So right here, we're just gonna say real estate services. Now, practice point, because it says real estate services, this will allow you to do property management, anything related to real estate services, if you want to do it up under this entity. Make sense? Or if you want to set up a separate entity, but we just make it generic enough to say this is the reason that what we're using it for. Now we get here to your officers and directors. For this entity, guys, you are the only allowed officer for this company. Because as you see on the next step, once this is formed, you're going to then send this information to DBPR, and they're going to update your license. So only the licensed person can be an officer or director on this entity. That's you, right? So we put in our name here. Do Suite 140 again. Just pulling up title experts, take this out. Take this out. So I'm the only entity, so that's it. Let's make sure. Now let's click continue and see what it says to us. See that, Susan? Invalid effective date cannot be more than 5 business days before filing date. I said 6 is actually 5. So now we have to go back. So if we put today's date as effective date, then the transaction before this date go on our Schedule C. If you have transactions before this date, you don't have an effective, you don't have a valid entity. Does that make sense? If they give you an effective date wherein your transactions fall after that date, it's covered by the entity. But if your transactions consummate or they're finalized before your effective date, then that transaction is tied to you individually and not your business. That's why it's important to set up a business, this entity, right away. If I'm a broker, do you recommend a vanity name and my personal name be registered as a PA? If you're a broker, you definitely want a vanity name, because if you're hiring people, they're not going to want to walk around with your name on them. Joke, but I'm serious. Now we're thinking about, what it looks like from a business standpoint. And then registering your personal name as a PA, you can. Because you'll still have, especially if you're still in production, you can still have your license on your PA. So what are we doing? We're saying we're going to go for 5 days. So let's say the 19th, 2021. See if we're 5 days out. Continue. Address, city, state, and title are required. Name one. Let's see what my thing. Oh, did I not do it here? Oh, my title. So say I'm the president. All right, they accepted it. Now we are going to review this information and make sure that it is correct. Effective date 8/19. We don't need a certificate. We don't need the copy. Here's the name. Make sure that's spelled properly. 100 shares. That's the address. Corporate mailing address, same as the principal address. Is that the case? Do you want this? If you're still at a brick and mortar brokerage, you may want your documentation mailed there. I probably wouldn't do that. I probably would just have it mailed to my, like, a permanent address somewhere you're not going to potentially move around a lot, so that you don't miss anything. And then we just confirm all the information, and then we click continue. Now it's time to pay. So it's $70 for a PA. I think the fee is different for an LLC, but now we pay. And that's it. So now we have set up our business entity. That was pretty simple, right? Like, you didn't have to pay me for that. Good question. So Lisa's question is, how difficult of a process is it to change it from an LLC to a PA? Does the company have to be dissolved and reassigned or a new company registered? No, you would just change it with SunBiz. SunBiz, you'll do an update, but then you also, yes, but it is considered a corporation. But then you'll also basically have to take these same steps after that. You need to update it with DBPR. That's what we're going to talk about next. You need to update it with your broker, et cetera. So once you make these changes, you have to follow the other steps to notify everyone else of all the other changes that you've made. All right. So we've hit SunBiz. Now, after SunBiz, once you get confirmation that your entity has been created, I suggest that you wait. They were backed up a little while ago. I'm not sure if they've caught up, but they were backed up. They had a long, it was taking them a little while for them to send the email confirmation. Watch your email because they'll send you the email confirmation or they'll send you a request to clarify or provide additional information. Do you have to open a bank account so your PA name? I'm glad you asked that. Yes, you do. And that's part of our next step. We're in that. That's one of the next steps once approved. So we're going to complete the employer identification number. In order to open the bank account, you're going to need an EIN. That is similar to the social for an individual. So how do we create an EIN? You simply go on the IRS website. Is it open? Go on the IRS website. And then note here that they do have hours of operation. This website is only available Monday through Friday from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. Oh, it's crazy. Combine it with your notary. I'm just trying to think through what your liability is as a notary. See, that's what this is all about, guys. Liability. And so that question is similar to when people take title to property. Should they have all their properties in one LLC? Liability. If someone slips and falls in property one, do you want them to be, and you have, let's say you have 5 properties in one LLC. Do you want them to be able to, essentially, we call it reach properties 2, 3, 4, and 5, and the revenue from properties 2, 3, 4, and 5 due to an accident at property 1, right? Similar to setting up these businesses. Do you want an issue? Let's say your real estate business is doing very well. Your notary business, sometimes you do notary business. You have an issue with your notary business. You have, I'll use hard numbers, $100,000 in your account. 75,000 of that is from your real estate business. 25 is from your notary business. You have an issue with your notary business. They sue you. Well, they can reach the entire 100,000 because all of that money is commingled in that one business, account. So you have to think about those things. If you want to ensure that liability, revenue, et cetera, is separate from these different service lines that you provide, then you should set up different companies for each service. Similar to a realtor that also does property management. Because you don't need a license to do property management. If you don't want your real estate revenue, your real estate sales revenue to be reached in the event that there's an issue with property management, you need to separate the companies and separate the bank accounts. All right. So let's apply for our EIN. So these are some of the requirements. Generally, we're going to meet these requirements. The business is in the US. The person applying has a social security number. Your personal social will still be tied to this EIN because once you see we get into this section, it's going to ask for your personal information as well. So let's go ahead and apply online. We say, okay, we're going to begin the application. This is a corporation. You're welcome, Charlene. This is a corporation. So we are going to select corporate. We're still doing the PA, guys. We're going to do continue. Now, more than likely, you're going to make your PA or LLC an S Corp. Again, not giving tax advice, but an S Corp allocation, and that's what we're going to talk about, allows the revenue, it's for tax filing purposes. It's gonna allow you to have a single taxation event. So any revenue from that business is going to flow through to you personally for tax purposes. Anything more than that, see the CPA. Okay, so we've done that, confirm your allocation, and so we press continue. And why are we, it's asking you, why are you requesting an EIN? We're starting a new business. Then you're going to put in your name. Let me put in my name just to get us going. I am not putting in my social. Let me see if they let me do this. I have, I am the president. See if they knock me out. Yeah. Can't use all zeros, guys, but I ain't putting my social in there. But once you put your social in, it's just going to take you through some obvious questions, guys. It's going to be very obvious that you'll know how to answer. And then it'll literally shoot you your EIN number. You will get your EIN number instantaneously. You don't want them to mail it to you. You want them to just give it to you as a PDF. You save the PDF to your file. Now, that's the other thing. Make sure you guys save that, print a hard copy, save it on the cloud. It is the devil to try and find your EIN, to call the IRS for your EIN number if you lose it, okay? If you don't do anything else, save the EIN number. If you've ever had to find your EIN number, you know that it is terrible. Is there a way to gain indemnity with an address? When someone looks at my information through the state, they see your personal address. You mean make it anonymous? Honestly, there's like so many different portals. I honestly can't even begin to try and tell you a lie about how to ensure that your personal information is shown nowhere. I'm sure someone can do it. Like someone would continuously have to be scrubbing Google, you know, the websites, because you have whitepages.com, look me up. So many different sites are scrubbing that information and repurposing it on so many different websites. It's terrible. Honestly, I can't even begin to try and tell you that. You don't use a PO box for a year? I think you can use a PO box. I'm almost positive you can. Could be wrong, but I'm almost positive that you can. Try it. We can't try it because I can't get past that screen without putting my social on there. But again, it is a very straightforward process. And honestly, guys, if you get stuck, call me. It's not that bad. Okay, so let's assume we already have our EIN. Now from there, remember, we're discussing your real estate license. From there, you are then going to form your RE16 with DBPR. Let me let you see what that looks like. And this is to change the name on your license to a PA. So see, it says add, remove PA, LLC, PL, or PLLC to your license. You're going to complete the form, send the $30, make the check payable to Florida Department of Business Professionals, send it to them. Kathy, you need an EIN so that you can create a business account. And you're going to have to file your taxes. So the entity doesn't operate alone. If you think of your business entity as an individual. When we're born, we're assigned a social security number. So when you create an entity, it needs to be assigned to have a life, right? To track it and all its finances, et cetera. It needs to be assigned an EIN, which is also an employer identification number. Now you can start operating business like that. You won't get very far. The only reason why I say you can is because you can forget, but you won't get very far, especially in light of the fact that if you follow all these steps, one of the next steps that we're going to take is opening a bank account, and they're going to ask you for your EIN. All right. So this is the form that we fill, and then we send it in. Again, keep an eye out on your email and your and the mail, because you'll get correspondence from the state to confirm your filing is approved or if it's been rejected for any reason. Amelia, can you put in Liz's contact information in the chat when you get a second? So Kathy, so for protection against the, thank you. So for protection against, and that's going to answer your question, Lisa, you're asking for a CPA. She does a very good job with realtors. She does a presentation. She presented at one of our business planning classes about pre-COVID, about 2 years ago. So I would definitely recommend you speak with her. So Kathy, to answer your question really quickly, we talked about, to start, the business entity itself creates protection against personal liability, yes. Now, to complete the formation of this business entity, outside of first creating it on SunBiz, the next thing is now providing an EIN for the business entity using the IRS's webpage. All right. Where are we here? So now we've submitted the change for DBPR. Once they've updated it, after DBPR updates your license to add your PA, now you need to update your broker. Let your broker know, hey, I'm no longer Kathy Quarles, I'm Kathy Quarles PA. So update your roster, update your payroll, your accounting system, everything, so that my checks are now issued to Kathy Quarles PA, Amelia Larkin PA, right? Oops, didn't mean to hit that again. Now, after we have the entity, we have the EIN, now you want to open the bank account. Someone asked about that earlier. Here's now we're opening the bank account. And then you're going to obviously also obtain a debit card. You will need your EIN number in order to open the bank account. And then from that point, you want to consult with the CPA regarding additional form filing, such as the 2553 S Corp election. So remember, on the IRS page, we're telling them that we're going to do an S Corp, but we haven't done it yet. They'll accept your filing, but they'll tell you at the end, they'll say, hey, you need to make sure that you file these documents to complete your S Corp election. That's what it's called. I am electing, I am intending, I'm selecting, I'm opting to be an S Corp. I'm opting so that revenues, et cetera, pass through for tax filing purposes to me personally as an S Corp. Now, additionally, and Amelia just dropped Elizabeth's contact information in the chat. Again, you guys take that information, let her know that we sent you Amelia and Ray Cole. And get on a call with her and start having that conversation right away, tax planning, guys, and what else you need to be ready for tax season and to just maximize your business entity, right? And then the last thing you want to do is you want to set up an accounting system. I know you guys have probably heard of QuickBooks. In preparation for our conversation, I came across this Realty Zam. I don't know if anyone has ever heard of it, but it looks pretty decent. Because at the end of the day, for most of your businesses, you don't need anything complicated. QuickBooks can be a little complicated and more than you need. But this is set up specifically for realtors. Consider it. The cost looks to be pretty nominal, $9.95 per month. If you do an annual, or $12 per month if you do it monthly. It's also free for 30 days. Consider it. I mean, what's 30 days gonna hurt, right? And then obviously the cost for this service is tax deductible. This is, again, one of the reasons why we create these business entities, is because the majority of your life, guys, again, I'm not giving you any tax advice, but you guys are always, we're always in business, are we not? I mean, 24/7, we're promoting, we're marketing, we're having a conversation, we're always working. So wherever you are, Miami or Jamaica, Bahamas or Paris, I'm working. This is business related. I'm booking this. I'm having a conversation with my CPA at the end of the year about the write-off qualifications, literally. Gas, food, everything, guys, cell phones, everything that you do needs to be booked to confirm business expense write-off. Everything that you're doing, everything. You buy a pen, use your business credit card. That's the next step on here. You buy paper, you buy water for, right? I mean, you buy water for showings or open houses. Everything needs to run through this business account so that you obtain your appropriate write-off at the end of the year. So that's Realty Zam. And then the next thing you want to do is you want to consider applying for a business credit card. I don't care if they only approve you for $125, take it. Because now you're building up the business credit line. Because that's how businesses grow. That's how businesses grow. So remember last week we talked about Compass. Compass didn't grow to that size based on just the revenue that Robert created. They call it funding rounds. Now you might not go out to angel investors, but a line of credit is your funding. Now you have a business plan wrapped around how you're going to use this funds. How many of you can use a couple $1,000s to hit a marketing campaign hard that you know is going to provide you a return because you know you're going to do the work? If you have a business set up with a EIN and a credit history, this is how you're able to grow your business. You're not waiting for commission to commission to commission to commission to grow up to your revenue point where you're saying, okay, I can, hit this marketing campaign, or now I can do this. Maybe it's a vehicle, whatever the major item is that you think is needed to grow your business. That's your angel investor. Your credit line is your angel investor. Let's go back to, what happened during COVID. If you were set up as a business entity, how easy or was it for you to get a disaster credit line or a disaster recovery loan? That's in addition to PPP. They were giving like $100,000. What would $50,000 at 1% interest over 3 years do for your business? Miracles, right? But if you don't have a business entity set up, we can't do that for you. Okay, off my soapbox on that point. And then the last thing is consider placing yourself on payroll. I think that's an obvious point. I know people saying, well, I can't afford payroll yet. Yes, you can. Even if it's just $2,000 per month. Again, I'm just using a very basic example. I know you guys are making more than $2,000 per month. $2,000 per month. Same thing. You get ready to buy a house. The person with a 1099 person is going to find it way more difficult to obtain a mortgage loan than, what do we call it, W-2? So you want to start building that payroll history. Again, start small, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000. But if you set it up from this way now, then you're no longer reacting. You're no longer spending as you make it, but there's a plan, a consistent plan in place for how you're going to utilize your cash flow. So we set up the business entity, we got the EIN, we set up a business account, we look at opening up a credit card line of credit, make sure you notify the state, make sure you notify your broker. Let's get you on payroll, $1,000, whatever it takes. And then just so you guys know, there's a ton of payroll systems out there. Gusto is one that I love, but obviously I have way more staff. You can use something way more simple. If you bank with Bank of America has a payroll platform built into their banking. I'm sure the other banks probably have that as well, right? So let's switch really quickly to our next topic on today, and that's tax planning. Tax planning is simply this, what we just talked about, and hopefully you guys can see this. This is an example of all of the fees, costs that you come across day to day that are tax write-offs. They're tax deductible. I'm sure you know your association dues, your licenses, memberships. Guys, if you pay for a class, a CE class, that's a write-off. Car rental. It says laundry here, but obviously laundry as well, but you're probably dry cleaning. You know, if you're wearing this stuff, if you have go get branded shirts, take those shirts to the cleaners and that's a write-off, right? It's going to be posted on the YouTube page, Lisa. You're going to get an email with the link to the recording that's posted to our YouTube page. All right. So look at all this stuff. Look at all this stuff. Your business cards. And here's what ends up happening. No problem, Lisa. Here's what ends up happening. And let me turn this off. I don't know why this does this. Annotate. Because Kim is writing on my screen. Oh, shoot. I stopped the share. 1 second. Trying to. Where is it? Kim probably didn't even notice. Disable annotation. There you go. All right. You're good. I need to fix that on the settings that you can't even do that from the settings. That's fine. Kim said, sorry. All right. So look at all this stuff. I know you guys are going to look at that much differently now. Going forward. You guys need to be careful, guys. Please, please, please be careful about ensuring that all of your business-related expenses are coming out of one account, going against one card, because it's going to make it easier, again, at the end of the year for you to do your write-offs, right? And for you to also actually see your financials, see what you're spending your money on. But if you have it in a bunch of different places, it's going to be hard for you to keep up with it. So let's get into these questions. Feel free to come off mute if you like to ask your question. I'm going to scroll up. So if all of my assets are owned jointly with my wife and they're shielded from judgments against me individually, no, not necessarily, Mike. Not all the time. Not all the time. That could be the case, but not all the time. And so what ends up happening is what you don't want is, why are we even having this conversation, right? So when I was in civil litigation, after the judgment, now it's time to enforce the judgment. It's time to collect. And literally what a person is going to do is they're going to figure out ways to reach your assets. Like, that's what they're paid to do. They're paid to seize bank accounts. They're paid to do all these different things to recover the judgment. And so with that being said, you want to just make sure that from now you have it separated so there's no question. We got Jessica's story. We did the effective date. We talked about the vanity name. Talked about that. Key to no property. We talked about the bank account. Okay, we talked about operating the two. Oh, thanks, Gerlene. You and the baby. I didn't know you had a baby that small, Gerlene. Do I have an opinion about using part of home as tax write-off? Absolutely, yes, ma'am. Absolutely, yes, ma'am. 100%. That is a valid tax write-off. Yep. So Nicholas said, home office use is the most audited business expense. If using home, be sure to keep exact records and very detailed records. With more home offices, maybe less audited, but based on high audit items. Does that make sense? So it's basically saying you want to be sure that you're not saying, oh, you know, writing off $20,000 for your home office when your home office is a little stand a sit-stand desk with a PC on it. Like, how much do you charge to set everything up? If you're talking about the business entity, you probably came on late. I think we charge like 200, but I just said you don't need that. We're charging for our time because it's a very simple process. As that's the reason that we're having this conversation. So 200 for that. What else? Any other question? Yep, the insurance. Well, that's E&O. I mean, obviously, you should have E&O through your broker, right? You guys pay for that. Unless you want to add an additional layer of insurance. Any other questions? Oh, you're welcome. Should it be set up separate from your investment business? Again, remember we talked about understanding your exposure. Whatever you're operating under one entity, if there's an issue in any of those service lines, the assets and the revenue of the whole will be reachable. So I would say yes. The only time that people have questions about, or, you know, one of the setbacks or drawbacks or whatever of setting up the entities is the cost involved with it. And that cost is essentially obviously the initial filing fee and the annual filing fee. So if, you know, 100 and you obviously have to file the taxes separately. So if that number is going to break you, then yeah, you want to keep it all together. But if you're running a business, I would hope that, you know, 900, I'm shooting high on 900 because the annual filing is like 115. So it depends on what you're being charged for taxes. So it's just those little operating costs. Figure out what the operating costs, bank fees for the separate bank account, those you're able to write those off. Right. Liability exposure is increased to all entities when combining. That's exactly it. You don't want to, again, remember that. Always remember that, guys. If you're operating these different businesses under one entity, under one, Lisette is operating 4 businesses under Lisette Ruiz PA. If Lisette has an issue with business 3, the person who files an action against business 3 is going to be able to reach the assets and the revenue of all 4 businesses because Lisette is running all 4 service lines out of that one company. All right. Good questions. You guys did very good. She said it'd be very scared. You guys did good today. Very good questions. Very good questions. I love it. Love it, love it, love it. So listen, in closing, you know, we always have our closing thought. So in closing, our closing thought is this. High performers have absolute clarity, and I bolded clarity on who they are, what they want, and what actions they need to take to get what they want. That's what this business planning is all about, guys. It's providing clarity on who you are, what do you want out of your business, and the actions that you need to take to get what you want out of your business. Clarity. What is clarity? Clarity is clearness. We talked about last week a vision, right? We're not clouded. I know exactly where I'm going. I'm writing out the direction of who I am, what I want, and the actions that I need to take to get to what I want. This is what high performers can do. Low performers, they just bump around. I would say bump around in the night, but high performers are very clear on their direction and on their goals. So that's what we're talking about.